Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So we have to talk about Gavin Newsom. Red Eagle just released a video regarding to Newsom's poll numbers. We are going to do something very similar, although we will go into our own little thing separately. But as Red Eagle has basically chosen the topic for us. Gavin Newsom, as we know, has been doing some silly gaffes, and they're quite funny, to be quite honest with you, as we should know. He thinks he's trying to appeal to more of the saner base of the Democratic Party. He's not. He also is trying to appeal to the insane base by doing these unhinged rants. He's trying to do the left-wing version of Donald Trump. That's even going to benefit them. But in other words, he's just ticking some people off. He is becoming a complete know-it-all. Although he may very well win the Democratic primary, he probably will end up losing the presidential election. As we should note that if Newsom is nominated as the Democratic nominee, he will have to face a lot of uphill battles. As Red Eagle basically pointed out, Arizona, Nevada, they are surging in GOP registration. There is no secret why. Because it's because of leadership, like Gavin Newsom's leadership, that is causing and leading to a GOP surge. So, in other words, you have this happening right now. So let's go ahead and just leave the swing states alone. The battleground states. But, yes. Okay, so we got our states. All right, we do have to put North Carolina and Georgia. So, yeah, you got our battleground states, although you have Alaska and Hawaii. You basically add Nevada and Arizona because, really, it's no secret. These states are red because of Gavin Newsom. This is a take that Red Eagle had in his video recorded a couple hours ago. And I actually agreed with him. I mean, I knew this. He didn't have to say this, and I just said, oh, this is obviously the case. No, everyone knows this. These states are red because of Gavin Newsom. And not just Gavin Newsom alone, actually, but just California in general. California is being run to the ground, and people are leaving to Nevada and Arizona as sanctuary states from leftism. And we do know that cities like Las Vegas and Phoenix have bolstered to the right because of the business. Okay, we're talking about business owners that are fleeing from California. And where are they going? Not Las Vegas and Phoenix. Two big cities into red states. And I do call Nevada a red state mainly because they have a pretty popular GOP governor. That GOP governor is basically running it like a red state, but they're Republican-led, in other words. Arizona's not, but Arizona, we did see dramatically going to the right. So, I mean, if the trends continue, these states ideally probably won't be battleground states as far as I know in the upcoming, not upcoming, but the soon-to-be 2028 presidential election. They would be Republican. And if we're talking about a Vance versus Newsom race, we're looking at just multiple swings, and who knows? This year, we could possibly have depending on how Jack Shirelli performs in New Jersey and how Cory Booker will perform in New Jersey next year, New Jersey could be added as a swing state. Shirelli is the winner. Cory Booker underperforms massively. Then we could basically put New Jersey in as a battleground state. And I would assume if Shirelli does win, and it's likely he won't, I don't want to say Shirelli will win just to get people's hopes up. He could possibly happen, seeing that the history of New Jersey and how bad it's gone. That New Jersey could be added onto the roster. You also have Minnesota that could be added. Who knows? You have Tampon Tim Walz running. You have Omar Fateh, who is looking to become the next mayor. If he wins, he's going to make it very easy for Republicans to win some offices. You also and make it very compatible there. That's going to put Minnesota on the battleground state for sure in 2028. You also have New Hampshire, depending on how the Senate election looks there. And how Kelly Ayotte, we know she will perform relatively well, but you're mainly looking at the Senate race next year. And if, like, people like, we know Chris Pappas is running, if Chris Pappas underperforms his margins when it comes to that, this is probably what you're looking at a battleground map. Gavin Newsom is guaranteed to get 198. He can't even breach 200 electoral votes. That's pretty bad. Even when you have Arizona and Nevada as safe states, and I wouldn't call them safe. I would just say, well, they're relatively going to be more Republican. They're, or other words, tilting Republican if it's underperformance. But yes, to that extent, we do know that, Gavin Newsom knows that he has to play two characters. He has to, first, he has to play he played the sanable, just not too long ago. He came out and tried to be moderate. He went out to Charlie Kirk and said, we need to prevent men from joining women's sports. We need to stop crime. He's trying to sound like a moderate Democrat, but then he sees his base, okay? His base, he realizes that his base is not moderate. And that if he wants to run for president, he needs the support he needs to win the nomination. In order to win the nomination, you need to be crazy, right? You need to be insane. You got to be more insane than AOC. And taking a look at the 2028 primaries, we even got a page. We don't really have a page yet, but primary. The polls, if we can look here, see if Democratic Party polls. Yeah! Gavin Newsom just won the latest poll. Kamala Harris's support has plummeted. Her support is non-existent. Like, she's winning 0.2% in the average. Gavin Newsom's surging. And this is because of his so-called impulsive tweets that he has been posting regularly, off and on and such like that. So this guy looks like to be winning that said Democratic Party nominate according to a latest poll. And it's kind of hard. You're looking at a map that is pretty disputable. I don't want to pull up. Well, we can pull up the 2028, the 2024 map just to see what it would look like, because it's going to be complicated, because we are dealing with, if AOC runs, she is going to screw things up for the establishment. And so much that she might end up walking away with the whole entire thing, because what we do know, and what we do need to know, that AOC, is leading when it comes to the populists, okay? She is going to be the populist nominee, the anti-establishment nominee. And the anti-establishment thresholds, or in other words, the progressive left-wing thresholds, have historically, if you will, back into into history, have historically been the West, right? Western U.S., the Western frontier. It's the states like Montana, Idaho, Oregon, Nevada, California, Utah, Colorado, Washington, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma. These states, the Western frontier, have historically, long time, been seen as the progressive strongholds. We know a lot of these states were carried by Bernie Sanders. But you also have Wisconsin, historically has been a socialist threshold. And we do know that it was the state of Robert La Follette. He has been what is seen to be the populist candidates in what was the Republican Party, which used to be pretty liberal. You also have the super delegation, which would go for AOC in a landslide if she won. Then that's something to know. And this thing is so crazy because this thing adds like 100 some delegates into the super delegation. I don't think that's the case. I think there's like more than 12 candidates and 12 delegates to the super delegation. But in this case, in this hypothetical, she would win ultimately with that super delegation. I don't know how they determine the super delegation, but it's kind of difficult. But I do want to believe Indiana is also seen as. You also have Illinois. You get these the establishment. You got the populace in Chicago. These big major cities, New York City and Philadelphia. But you also have. You could say, yeah, Philadelphia is also pretty big there. Also, you have New Jersey, Washington. Delaware would be kind of disputed, but DC, yeah, you got all these stuff here going on. Texas, yeah, AOC could be running around carrying the whole entire convention. Now, where does Gavin Newsom come in to break AOC, okay? So that's a good question. And now here's the problem. I think the establishment has more of a threshold in Florida. So Newsom's going to be establishment. He's trying to become like this anti-establishment person right now. He's not. And we know this, okay? So he's going to be the establishment candidate. We know this, obviously. He's trying to deny that, and he realizes this is the alignment of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has 100% become anti-establishment, far left, okay? This is the Democratic Party. Get over it. And Gavin Newsom knows this. And because he knows this, he is trying to play the gaffes of the Democratic Party. So I think, honestly, looking at this here, yeah, it's going to be difficult. I think AOC would probably win a lot of New England. Yeah, she's going to win probably the whole entire country. She, like the major cities, the college cities. Arizona, I would say probably Gavin Newsom. New Mexico. But this is what you're basically looking at. This is why I'm saying if AOC runs, then it's over. So, yeah, I mean, Gavin Newsom has everything to lose right now. Not to mention, Gavin Newsom is doing probably the most biggest, dumbest mistake on the planet. What is he doing? Well, I have allergies, so pardon me. What's he doing right now? I'll tell you what he's doing. Gavin Newsom is putting a redistricting ballot measure on the ballot. Hilarious. Because if this fails, Republicans win something. Gavin Newsom loses everything. You think this helps his candidacy? Helps his campaign for the presidency in 2028? No, it doesn't. Why? Because A, you failed to Trump. You didn't bend the knee. But I think Gavin Newsom's gotten himself into something that he can't literally get out of. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's got himself into something that he can't get himself out of. Literal. Like, I'm going to flip this around, but yeah, he's gotten himself into something that he can't get himself out of. Because let's just say he decides not to do the redistricting. You folded to Trump. So now he knows he has to do the redistricting. So now he's taking the gamble, which is you're going to fumble anyway. Because if you succeed, then you got to face the wrath of your voters in the midterms. Well, the good news is you got the loonies on your side, right? You got the lunatics on your side. So, win-win, I guess, but you have lost the moderate base in your state. But let's be honest. Even with the loonies aren't going to vote for Gavin Newsom, right? If their brat queen AOC runs, they're going for AOC. She's the Puerto Rican Latino populist lady, they're going to go for her over the white straight male who claims, who, despite being not low testosterone, they're going to still back the brown Latino lady. That's how it goes. That's how it always goes. Okay? So it's not really a surprise. So, I don't know. I think Gavin Newsom's committing suicide right now. Like, he's, like, sure, on paper you would say, oh, he succeeds in this ballot measure. Then amazing, great, hooray. But then you destroyed everything with your moderate base. You got people in San Francisco going right now saying, "Oh, Gavin Newsom, you shouldn't do this. When they go low, we go high." That's what they say. But you're going high with them. Well, you're going low back down with them. So that destroys the moral argument. So they're saying, no, this isn't right, blah, 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 blah. But there's also populists that will say, yeah, we support what you're doing, Gavin, but if he succeeds. But here's the bad part. AOC runs, and all the populists that backed Gavin Newsom for his redistricting efforts, they're going to jump ship. Definitely for AOC. They're going to jump ship. And I think that the establishment has failed so many times in 2020, 2024, 2016. They threw the last straw away. I think if they rig the election, they can't this time. If they rig this election, the primaries, they will indefinitely lose. But anyway, what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.